I think it was a little more packed for Mr. Moringa, wasn't it?
Please grab a mic when you're asking the question. Who's first? Thanks.
All right, so Mike, you have been, from the last game in LA, you wanted to carry a bunch of things that you were doing attack-wise. How do you feel that you've done that tonight?
Yeah, I mean, very, very pleased with the whole 90 minutes, you know, as a whole. If you break it down into the substitution brackets that we had, the first 30 minutes, I was very impressed, you know, and it just like the LA game. After that, I was asked, how did I feel about it? I felt phenomenal, but it had nothing to do with scoring 6 goals. It had to do with how we scored the 6 goals. It had to do how we defended. It had to do with how we were balanced throughout. So the goals were just a byproduct of that. And then into this break for 10 days when it was somewhat of a boot camp, to stress certain things and to continue to add my little bit of, you know, philosophy and tactics into this, and then to come out against a team like Man United and go up 1-0 and be explosive going forward and definitely balanced throughout as well. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled for the guys. I really downplayed this game the whole last 2 weeks with this team. I completely downplayed. That's why I'm dressed like this tonight. You know, I didn't want the focus to be on Man United. I wanted the focus to be on Portland. But what we talked about was taking this game as a stepping stone 2 days before a very important league game and to put into play things that we want to see in that game. And I saw it tonight, absolutely. So I'm very impressed with not only the attacking but the balance throughout. And, you know, to only give up 2 goals to a team like Man United, you know, and I'm a very competitive person, extremely overly competitive person. So for me to say that, you know, it means something. So, you know, I'm happy with the group tonight.
How much of a difference did it make pushing up Tony and DeMar?
Well, yeah, you know, I talked about it since I took over, is that I didn't want to throw too much at the guys. You know, it had to be a gradual step in a process, and the process came to a head right before the LA game when we really started pushing things, and one of them was getting our outside backs very high in the attack. But not only that, but what happens when the ball goes out to one side? How do we react? And just putting those things on. And a lot of that has to do with Savarino and Plato or Brooks if they're in, their recognition and coming centrally to create that space. So we really pushed it before the LA game. And, you know, we were joking around. I should have done it weeks before because they loved it and embraced it. So yes, so tonight it was great to see the things that we saw in LA that were successful carried over against a team like Man United, and now going into the Portland game for sure. I mean that's extremely important. That's the way we're halfway there. To the way that I want to play with this team, and those were 2 big steps.
Any particular reason for Jura's absence in the match tonight?
Jura, when we got back from LA. We had 2 days off, and then we had 3 days of practice. The first 2 days of practice, he was firing on all cylinders, and then he had a bit of a hip problem. And the hip problem has carried over for quite a while now. He's fighting to get back, and it was an injury. He's not ready.
Was it good to see some of these young guys from the Monarchs come up and play as well as they did, in your opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, like I said it. I don't know how loud I said it for the last week, but I think this game was very important for this organization, for the city, for MLS, for the supporters, but it was terrible timing, you know, 2 days before a big game. So, and not to say that if this game had taken place a week and a half ago during our break, I still would have gotten these Monarchs players up because they've obviously earned it. I have a very big spot in my heart for that team, obviously because I was there, but just how close I am with Mark and seeing what he's done since I left, and having that connection, these guys deserve that shot, and perhaps even more of them, you know, but we can only get so many guys. So I was very happy to be able to you know, incorporate them into this night, and I thought every one of them did very well.
Mourinho seemed to take some exception with Sebastian, I think.
I'm sorry?
Mourinho seemed to take some exception with some of the aggressive play of the younger players in the second half, especially with the Mata injury. Did you have any problem with how they approached a friendly?
Mourinho took what happened with?
He praised your first team, liked the quality, and then he said, you know, younger players against playing against Man United played aggressive, and he seemed to be a little miffed with the injury that happened, and maybe that justified the red card that happened later.
It's a very good summation.
Listen, yeah, young players or all players, you know, are gonna. Oh man, I'm trying to skate around this one right here. I'll say this is that Sebastian, I think you know he got hit pretty hard a couple of times. Now I don't know if the Mata situation happened before. I could tell you my opinion is that having coached him and knowing him on a personal level, there was no intent. He's just playing hard. You know, it'd be like if the New York Yankees went over anywhere around the world and played another team, the team would play extremely hard. If the Golden State Warriors went over to Europe, you know, every team would be playing hard. You know, it's like the U.S. Open Cup, you know, when MLS teams go and play so-called lesser teams, which they're not, but lower division teams, it's their championship, their World Cup. So perhaps that is with some of our guys. I know that it wasn't intent from Bofo, from Sebastian whatsoever, but I don't know if you guys saw, I walked halfway across towards the Man United bench. That was to tell them I'd like them to put somebody back on. I don't want to play, you know, I don't want to play a man up. You know, I want my guys to get a real game against one of the best in the world. So if he feels that way, he's got a hell of a lot more experience than me. He's won a hell of a lot more than me. So he's probably right, but I'm a little irrational. I don't think there was any intent with the Mata thing, and you know, I think that was a red card offense from what happened with Valencia. With all due respect to. With all due respect to my mentor and my favorite manager, Mourinho.
Your guys in the middle moved the ball so quickly from side to side, and it created a lot of chances. How much do you think maybe that quick play had to do with the opponent and knowing they had to play quicker? And is that something you maybe replicate going forward and be a quicker team attacking? You know,
there's many things that I could point to that are the most difficult parts of coaching. And one of those is talking to your players throughout a week, or in our case, throughout 2 weeks, and pinpointing the way we want to play and the way we want to do things and how we want to play, and then getting to the game, and perhaps the game takes a different turn and you don't see those things. The reason why I'm saying that is that we preached from L.A. to, even before L.A., Orlando, L.A., and definitely Manchester United. They played 2 nights ago, flew in today at 1 o'clock. We're in altitude. We talked about getting the ball, moving it quickly, 1 and 2 touch, side to side, getting them running. And to see them do that's one of the joys of coaching, because you don't see it all the time. You know, you put a play down, you put a tactical plan down, and sometimes you don't see it. But tonight and against LA and even against Orlando, the last 3 games, I've seen huge chunks of what we're talking about. That's a long answer to your question, but to get back to yours, it was key. It was vital. You know, I mean, you play against a team like Man United, who is physically physically dominating over you. They're technically dominating over you, and there's no shame in saying that. So, how do you, in altitude, how do you try to take advantage of them? 1 and 2 touch, getting it side to side, getting them moving, and hit them explosively on the counter. And I think that those are things that we did incredibly well tonight.
Thanks. Any more? Just real quick, Portland on Wednesday, what are you expecting from your guys after playing this match to kind of get back into the groove of things?
Again, the most difficult part about coaching is not, once that whistle blows, you have no control. So what am I expecting? I'm expecting from large parts of the Orlando game to the LA game for sure, to the 10 days of the training camp that we had in between, into this game. That's a lot of positives that we've had. I'm expecting that to be brought into the Portland game. And at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that we're going to win. You know, that's up to the 90 minutes and how the ball bounces. But I'm expecting them to now starting to continue to get confidence and saying, "Oh, doesn't matter what the standings say. We're a pretty damn good team," and just being committed for that 90 minutes. Once that whistle blows. So I'm expecting a good performance against Portland, but Portland's a very good team, and they're a very dangerous team. So, and we're going to their stadium. So I'm expecting a good performance out of our team, and then we'll see what happens.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay. Thank you.
Players available.